Samsy. Hey guys, we got story time with Ronnie. There she was in her travel mode. And today's story, Journey to the Center of the Earth, Part 17. Oh boy, oh look at that. We're heading just out of Fountain Hills area there, and we're gonna end it just at the bottom of Mount Ord. We're gonna get over the top of Mount Ord and get down to the bottom, and then we'll put a pin in it. You can see that's 4 peaks right over there to the right. That every year gets snow on it, and everybody goes, "Oh my word, snow in Arizona." Okay, guys, so this story, Journey to the Center of the Earth. Now, when we left this sucker off, Hans, the imperturbable, I had to start with that word, didn't I? Anyway, Hans, the guide, and Professor Hardwick and Harry were making their way down the crater. And Harry was kind of thinking that maybe he shouldn't rely on that cord as much as he was. So he was going full on monkey feet, and he was just, relying on his own resources to make sure that he didn't fall. So we'll pick it up right there. And doing miracles in the ways of feats of dexterity and strength upon the projecting shelves and spurs of lava, which my feet seemed to clutch as strongly as my hands. The guide went first, I have said, and when one of the slippery and frail supports broke from under his feet, he had recourse to his usual monosyllable way of speaking. Get fuck. He was like, "Get the out of the way." He doesn't say that. He says Jafactor. We'll just leave it there because I'm not going to look it up and I'm not going to get it right. So, unless that was like, "Oh, you nailed it. You nailed it." Somebody from Iceland, you'd be like, "Oh, damn, man, that guy knows what's going on." "Attention, look out," repeated my uncle. In about half an hour, we reached a kind of small terrace, formed by a fragment of rock projecting some distance from the sides of the shaft. Hans now began to haul upon the cord on one side only, the other going as quietly upward as the other came down. It fell at last, bringing with it a shower of small stones, lava, and dust, a disagreeable kind of rain or hail. While we were seated in this extraordinary bench, I ventured once more to look downwards. With a sigh, I discovered that the bottom was still wholly invisible. Were we then going direct to the interior of the earth? The performance with the cord recommenced, and a quarter of an hour later we had reached to the depth of another 200 feet. Let's take a look at this little drive. Oh, we're going to start doing the climbing, and in the middle of summer, it's 120 degrees right here, so you got to start the climb. And there used to be signs all over, there probably still is, about turn off your air conditioner. I don't think that's really the case anymore, but for them older vehicles it sure is. Okay, big climb. I have very strong doubts if the most determined geologist would, during that descent, have studied the nature of the different layers of earth around him. I did not trouble my head much about the matter, whether we were among the combustible carbon, Silurians, or primitive soil. I neither knew nor cared to know. Not so the inveterate professor. He must have taken notes all the way down, for at one of our halts he began a brief lecture. "The further we advance," said he, the greater is my confidence in the result. The disposition of these volcano strata absolutely confirms the theories of Sir Humphrey Davy. We are still within the region of the primordial soil, the soil in which took place the chemical operation of metals becoming inflamed by coming in contact with the air and water. I at once regret the old and now forever exploded theory of central fire. At all events, we shall soon know the truth. Okay, yeah, and this big downhill here, let's take a look at it. What the heck is this valley going to be called? I don't know. We'll call it the Big Old Valley. How about that? And it really goes down a lot, like in these curves here. And this road's 65 mile an hour, so it really tricks people. And all of a sudden, they're going 75 and laying in the corners. You know, it's a little spooky. Okay. Oh, I lost my spot. Well, you know, that's never happened before, so we really have no protocols here. Yeah, we do. We start swearing. At all events, we shall soon know the truth. Such was the everlasting conclusion to which he came. I, however, was very far from being in humor to discuss the matter. I had something else to think of. My silence was taken for consent, and still we continued to go down. At the expiration of 3 hours, we were, to all appearance, as far off as ever from the bottom of the well. When I looked upwards, however, I could see the upper orifice was ever minute, decreasing in size. Every minute minute. Every minute. Okay. All right, we might have to back that one back in here. Okay, every minute decreasing in size. The sides of the shaft were getting closer and closer together. We were approaching the regions of eternal night, and still we continued to descend. At length I noticed that when pieces of stones were detached from the sides of this stupendous precipice, they were swallowed up with less noise than before. The final sound was sooner heard. We were approaching the bottom of the abyss. As I had been very careful to keep count of all of the changes of chord which took place, I was able to tell exactly what the depth we had reached, as well as the time it had taken. We had shifted the rope 28 times, each operation taking a quarter of an hour, which in all made 7 hours. To this had to be added 28 pauses, in all 10 hours and a half. We started at 1. It was now, therefore, about 11 o'clock at night. It does not require great knowledge or arithmetic to know that 28 times 200 feet make 5,600 feet in all. More than an English mile. While I was making this mental calculation, I heard a voice broke the silence. It was the voice of Hans. "Halt!" he cried. I checked myself very suddenly. Just at that moment, when I was about to kick my uncle on the head. "We have reached the end of our journey," said the worthy professor in a satisfied air. "What? The interior of the earth?" said I, slipping down to his side. "No, you stupid fellow, but we have reached the bottom of the well." "And I suppose there is no further progress to be made?" I hopefully exclaimed. "Oh, yes. I can dimly see a sort of tunnel, which turns off obliquely to the right. At all events, we must see about that tomorrow. Let us sup now, and seek slumber as best we may." I thought in time, but made no observations on that point. I was fairly launched on a desperate course, and all I had to do was to go forward hopefully and trustingly. It was not even now quite dark, the light filtering down in a most extraordinary manner. We opened the provision bag, ate a frugal supper, and each did his best to find a bed amid a pile of stones, dirt, and lava. We had accumulated 4 ages at the bottom of the shaft, which had accumulated for ages at the bottom of the shaft. I happened to grope out the pile of ropes, ladders, and clothes which we had thrown down, and upon them I stretched myself. After such a day's labor, my rough bed seemed as soft as down. For a while I lay in a sort of pleasant trance. Presently, after lying quietly for some minutes, I opened my eyes and looked upwards. As I did so, I made out a brilliant little dot at the extremity of this long, gigantic telescope. It was a star without scintillating rays. According to my calculations, must be Beta in the constellation of the Little Bear. After this little bit of astronomical recreation, I dropped into a sound sleep. Ooh, that's the end of chapter 14. Let's dig into chapter 15. What is chapter 15? We continue our descent. Well, let's take a look at this little drive. Okay, we're starting to climb again. And it's still, that's the biggest problem here, is it's just so dang hot in the summertime. And you got to get right to pacing before things start to cool down. And that means you've got from 1,500 feet to 7,000 feet in elevation, up and down a couple of times. And it's hot. It's well over 100 degrees that whole time. You get to pacing and you're at close to 7,000 feet, 6,500 feet, and it'll be in the mid 90s, high 90s. But at that point there, things start to change, because the way it never got as hot as it did, and the air doesn't sit there, so at least you got a better chance. But this bit here is just brutal. All right, enough of that. Let's get on with chapter 15. We continue our descent. At 8 o'clock the next morning, a faint kind of dawn awoke us. The 1,001 prisms of lava collected the light as it passed, and brought it to us like a shower of sparks. Well, I mean, that sounds cool. We were able with ease to see objects around us. "Well, Harry, my boy," cried the delighted professor, rubbing his hands together, "what say you now? Did you ever pass a more tranquil night in our house in Coinstrazel? Straze? No deafening sounds of cartwheels, no cries of hawkers, no bad language from boatmen or watermen?" "Well, uncle, we are quite at the bottom of this well, but to me there is something terrible in this calm." "Why," said Professor Hutley, "one would say you were already beginning to be afraid. How will you get on presently? Did you know that as yet we have not penetrated 1 inch into the bowels of the earth?" "What can you mean, sir?" was my bewildered and astonished reply. "I mean to say that we have only just reached the soil of the island itself. This long vertical tube, which ends at the bottom of the center of Sneffels, ceases here, just about on a level with the sea." Are you sure, sir?" "Quite sure. Consult the barometer." It was quite true that the mercury, after rising gradually in the instrument as our long descent was taking place, had stopped precisely at 29 degrees. "You perceive," said the professor, "we have as yet only to endure the pressure of air. I am curious to replace the barometer with my manometer. The barometer, in fact, was about to become useless as soon as the weight of air was greater than what was calculated as above the level of the ocean. But, said I, it is not very much to be feared that this ever-increasing pressure may end the turn out very painful and inconvenient. No, said he, we shall descend very slowly, and our lungs will gradually be accustomed to breathe compressed air. It is well known that aeronauts have gone so high as to be nearly without air at all. Why then should we not accustom ourselves to breathe when we have, say, a little too much of it? For myself, I am certain I shall prefer it. Let us not lose a moment. Where is the packet which preceded us on our descent? I smilingly pointed it out to my uncle. Hans had not seen it, and believed it caught somewhere above us. Whoop, as he had phrased it. Now, said my uncle, let us breakfast and break fast. Like people who have a long day's work before them. Biscuit and dry meat was washed down by some mouthfuls of water flavored with schiendam was the material of our luxurious meal. As soon as it was finished, my uncle took from his pocket a notebook destined to be filled with memorandum of our travels. He had already placed his instruments in order, and that was what he wrote. Monday, July 1. Chronometer, 8 hours, 17 minutes. Morning. Barometer, 29 degrees. Thermometer, 43 degrees Fahrenheit. Direction, east, southeast. This last observation referred to the obscure gallery and was indicated to us by the compass. Now, Harry, cried the professor in an enthusiastic tone of voice, we are truly about to take our first step into the interior of the earth, never before visited by man since first creation of the world. You may consider, therefore, that at this precise moment our travels really commence. As my uncle made this remark, he took in one hand the Ruhmkorff coil apparatus, which hung around his neck, and with the other he put the electric current into communication with the worm of the lantern, and a bright light at once illuminated the dark and gloomy tunnel. The effect was magical. Hans, who carried the second apparatus, had it also put into operation. This ingenious application of electricity to practical purposes enabled us to move along by the light of an artificial day, amid even the flow of the most inflammable and combustible gases. Forward! Cried my uncle. Each took up his burden. Hans went first, my uncle followed, and I going third. We entered the somber gallery. Just as we were about to engulf ourselves in this dismal passage, I lifted my head and, through the tube-like shaft, saw that Icelandic sky I was never to see again. All right, let's take a look and see where we're at on this story, or this drive, I should say. Oh, I see we're just heading up the hill. Who we following? We never get in too big of a rush, and you know, I normally don't go around these guys, but if they're just going too slow, it's just too much. But generally I'll just park out in behind them because it just doesn't matter. It don't, you know, it's only going to save you a few minutes. But that guy, he's definitely got it pulled back a little bit there. So up we go. Okay, let's get to this story now. Let's find out where we're at. Try to find my spot, which is always so easy. But this time I put a mark on it, so we got a better chance. Was The Icelandic sky was never to see again. Was it the last I should ever see of any sky? The stream of lava flowing from the bowels of the earth in 1229 had forced itself a passage through the tunnel. It lined the whole of the inside with its thick and brilliant coating. The electric light added very greatly to the brilliancy of the effect. The great difficulty of our journey now began. How were we to prevent ourselves from slipping down the steeply inclined plane? Happily, some cracks, braziers of the soil, and other irregularities served the place of steps, and we descended slowly, allowing our heavy luggage to slip on before at the end of a long cord. But that which served our steps under our feet became in other places stalactites. The lava, very porous in certain places, took the form of little round blisters, crystals of opaque quartz, adorned with limpid drops of natural glass, suspended to the roof like lustres, seemed to take fire as we passed beneath them. One would have fancied that the genii of romance were illuminating their underground palaces to receive the sons of men. Whew. Boy, oh boy. Oh yeah, okay, up we go, up we go. We got the hammer down. You know, yeah, I bet you I stay behind this guy. It takes some effort to jump out there, and with it being so hot, see, right there was just a vehicle on fire on the side there. Boy, there's just one after another over here. There's another spot there where they had a fire. Yep, it gets warm. Oh, we topped the hill, and we're gonna roll on down now. And oh yeah, good luck. You get some good speed going down there, and hope your truck is big enough to pull back your trailer when you're going 70 miles an hour down a hill. Let's see, what is the speed limit here? Does it say? It says there's a steep ass hill, don't be dumb, don't be dumb. And then there's a runaway truck right over, runaway truck lane. So, all of those things kind of should be setting off some warning bells in your head that the speed limit is actually there for a reason. They try to get you to slow down by doing a little curvy here and there, but it still doesn't change that at the bottom of the hill there's a 45 mile an hour turn. And if yeah, there we go, there we go. All right, yeah, you see, I'm just trying to avoid it because I really do like watching the drive. All right, let's continue on, and we will. Oh, you know what? I'm just going. Let's find us a good spot to finish up here. I didn't mark my spot, so pretty much any spot's going to be a good spot. You're beginning to see. Oh, here we go. We got to get just a little bit more in because it sounds pretty good. This lava stuff inside the cavern there looks pretty good. Magnificent! Glorious! I cried in a moment of involuntary enthusiasm. What a spectacle, Uncle! Do you not admire these variegated shades of lava, which run through the whole series of colors from reddish brown to pale yellow by the most insensible degrees? And these crystals, they appear like luminous globes. You are beginning to see the charms of travel, Master Harry, cried my uncle. Wait a bit until we advance further. What we have as yet discovered is nothing. Onward, my boy. Onward. All right, guys, we're going to leave it right there. And I'm going to mark it even so we've got a really good chance of finding it. And now let's just take a peek and see what we've done with this travel here. Okay, yeah, we've up heading towards Jake's Corner now. All right, guys, thanks so much for coming along, and I'm not sure where we're going to go next time, but it'll be exciting, I know that. Thanks so much for coming. Next time, Sam, see, and we'll give you just a couple of minutes of Rosie. You go, big girl.